The emperor is awake before sunrise, and the first battle of his day is not against a foreign army, it's against his own mind. Outside his tent, Rome is cracking under war, plague, betrayal. Inside, Marcus Aurelius is trying to answer a question that still decides whether your life feels clear or chaotic. What should a human being do in the first hour after waking up? But first, let me tell you why this matters more today than ever. Most people imagine success beginning with motivation. Marcus Aurelius would have called that a mistake, because the morning does not reveal your mood. It reveals your training, and Marcus was trained in the harshest classroom imaginable. He was not a monk in a quiet temple. He was not a philosopher protected from responsibility. He was the ruler of the most powerful empire on earth, carrying the weight of famine, military collapse, political intrigue, and a devastating plague. At dawn, he did not wake to bird song and productivity playlists. He woke to reports of death. He woke to men who wanted his throne. He woke to the possibility that thousands of lives could hinge on the quality of his judgment before breakfast. And yet the notes he wrote to himself in private, notes that became *meditations*, are not full of panic. They are full of discipline, not because he felt calm, but because he practiced calm. That is the difference modern Stoicism tries to recover and social media self-improvement often forgets. The Stoic morning routine was never about optimization for its own sake. It was about moral clarity. It was a way of stepping into a chaotic world without becoming chaotic yourself. Here's the part that should unsettle you. Marcus Aurelius had fewer comforts than you, more pressure than you, less control than you think, and still built a mind stronger than most of us ever will. So what exactly did he do? Not 10 habits, not some elaborate ritual sold as ancient wisdom, just a handful of brutal, elegant practices rooted in Stoic philosophy. Practices designed to cut through laziness, fear, ego, and distraction before they spread through the rest of the day. And what he wrote next changed everything. Because hidden in those private reflections are 5 Stoic practices that can turn your mornings from reactive to sovereign. Marcus Aurelius begins with something that feels almost offensive to the modern ear. He does not ask, "How do I feel this morning?" He asks, "What is my duty?" Listen to this. At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, "I have to go to work as a human being." That line is not productivity advice. It is a philosophical weapon. Marcus is not shaming himself into movement. He is reminding himself that comfort is not the purpose of life. Function is, virtue is, contribution is. In Stoic terms, to wake up is to return to your role in the larger order of things. This is practice number 1. Reject the fantasy that mornings are supposed to feel easy. That sounds simple, but it cuts against almost everything in modern culture. We have been trained to believe that if action feels heavy, something must be wrong. Marcus says the opposite. The resistance is normal. The question is whether you obey it. And here's where most people get it wrong. They think Stoic discipline means suppressing emotion. It doesn't. It means refusing to let emotion vote on your obligations. That distinction matters, because if you wait to feel ready, your life will be governed by weather, and inner weather changes by the hour. Marcus goes even further. He compares your reluctance to leave bed with the natural purpose of plants, birds, and bees. They do what they were made to do. So why do humans, the one creature capable of reason, treat basic responsibility as an insult? It's a sharp question, maybe too sharp, but maybe that's why it works. In modern Stoicism, this first practice can be translated into one rule. The first decision of the day should be an act of principle, not preference. Make your bed, stand up immediately, journal before touching your phone, walk before consuming noise. The specific action matters less than the deeper message. I am not here to be ruled by comfort. Seneca, another giant of Stoic philosophy, would have recognized this instantly. He warned that a mind addicted to ease becomes fragile, and fragile people do not become free. Now here's the controversial part. Comfort is not self-care if it makes you weaker. Sometimes what people call protecting their peace is just sophisticated avoidance. That line alone will annoy some people. Good, it should, because philosophy is supposed to disturb the excuses that keep you average, but there's something even more shocking than getting out of bed. Marcus didn't just prepare to work. He prepared to be disappointed by people. Here is the second practice, and it's pure ancient wisdom, difficult, unsentimental, and strangely liberating. When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. Most people read this and think Marcus was becoming cynical. He wasn't. He was vaccinating himself against surprise. That is one of the deepest moves in Stoic philosophy. Suffering is intensified not just by pain, but by violated expectation. You are not devastated because people are flawed. You are devastated because some part of you still expected them not to be. This is practice number 2. Rehearse difficulty before it arrives. In modern language, this is negative visualization. Imagine the obstruction. Picture the rude email, the delayed train, the colleague who takes credit, the family member who says exactly the thing that triggers you. Not to become paranoid, to become prepared. And yes, this sounds bleak, but it is one of the reasons modern Stoicism has survived for 2,000 years, because it works. If you expect perfect conditions, the world will break your mood every day. If you expect friction, you gain an advantage almost nobody talks about: emotional shock absorption. There's a reason elite performers do this instinctively. Athletes visualize setbacks before competition. Soldiers rehearse failure points. Emergency teams train for worst-case scenarios. Why should your character require less preparation than your career? And let's be honest, the modern self-improvement world often sells confidence as positive thinking. Marcus Aurelius would disagree. Confidence is not believing everything will go well. Confidence is knowing you can meet whatever comes. That is a radically different kind of strength. This is where it gets interesting, because Marcus doesn't stop at expecting difficult people. He adds another layer: they act this way because they do not know good from evil. In other words, ignorance drives much of human ugliness. Now here comes the debatable statement: most personal conflict is not caused by malice. It's caused by unconsciousness. And if that's true, then a lot of what you call betrayal is really just immaturity. Some viewers will reject that. They'll say, no, people know exactly what they're doing. Sometimes they do, but not as often as your wounded pride wants to believe. When you begin the day with that understanding, your reactions change. You don't excuse bad behavior. You simply stop being emotionally ambushed by it. That's the transformation. So the second practice is this: before the world speaks to you, remind yourself what the world is like. Not to harden your heart, but to stabilize your mind. And then Marcus moves to a third practice, one that might be the hardest of all in an age obsessed with status, image, and performance. He remembers death. You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. There it is. Practice number 3, mourning mortality. And no, this is not nihilism. It is concentration. Marcus Aurelius uses death the way an archer uses a target. It narrows the field. It strips away trivia. If today was smaller than you assume, if it were not one of many, but one of few, what would suddenly look ridiculous? The grudge, the performative busyness, the hour lost to scrolling, the argument you rehearse in the shower with someone who doesn't even think about you. This is practice number 3 because nothing clarifies the morning like finitude. The Stoic does not remember death to become gloomy, he remembers it to become exact. Seneca wrote endlessly about this. To postpone living, he argued, is the most dangerous form of waste. We guard our money, we budget our calories, we optimize our schedules, and then we spend years as if time was somehow refundable. Here's the rhetorical question Marcus silently asks you every dawn. If your life were a limited manuscript, why are you letting strangers write so many pages? That is where practice number 4 enters. Protect the first hour from invasion. Marcus never had a smartphone, but he understood invasion better than we do. He ruled an empire. Everyone wanted access. Everyone had demands. And that is exactly why his private reflections matter. Before he entered the noise of the world, he built an inner citadel. This is one of the most powerful ideas in Stoic philosophy, the inner citadel. The part of you that remains your own if you guard it well. Your morning routine is not about aesthetics. It is border control. So practice number 4 is brutally practical. Do not let the world speak first. No email first. No headlines first. No notifications first. No algorithm first. Because whatever captures your attention in the morning often governs the tone of your thinking for hours. And here's where modern people resist. They say, I need to know what's happening. No, most of the time, you need to know what is happening inside you before you can meet what is happening outside you. That might be the most unprofitable advice in the digital age, which is probably why it's so valuable. Use the first hour for alignment. Journal, walk, read a page of philosophy, sit in silence, review your duties, rehearse your obstacles, remember your values. This is not glamorous, which is exactly why it works. The deepest forms of self-improvement are usually too simple to market. Now, the fifth practice brings everything together. Marcus reminds himself that his mind can meet reality without complaint. In different places across meditations, he returns to the same lesson. The obstacle is not always the event. It is your judgment about the event. This is practice number 5, separate facts from interpretation. You wake up late. Fact, the day is ruined. Interpretation, someone ignores your message. Fact, they don't respect me. Interpretation, your plan changes. Fact, nothing ever works out. Interpretation, Stoic philosophy is often reduced to control what you can control, but that slogan is too shallow unless you understand where control actually begins. It begins with naming reality cleanly, without drama, without ego, without fiction. And isn't that what success really is at the deepest level? Not domination, not image, not endless achievement. The ability to see clearly and act rightly anyway. That is the revelation of Marcus Aurelius' morning routine. The 5 practices are not separate hacks. They are one coherent discipline. Rise by duty, not mood. Expect difficulty without resentment. Remember death to sharpen life. Protect your inner citadel before the world enters. And separate reality from the story your fear wants to tell. Do you see what this means? Marcus was not trying to win the morning. He was trying to become the kind of person no morning could defeat. That is the emotional core of Stoicism. Not coldness, not detachment, sovereignty. So let's return to that image from the beginning. A man wakes before sunrise while an empire trembles around him. He has every excuse to be overwhelmed, every reason to become bitter, distracted, self-protective, numb. And instead, he picks up a pen and prepares his soul. That is why Marcus Aurelius still matters, not because he was an emperor, because he understood something we keep trying to avoid. Your life is shaped less by what happens to you than by what greets you when you wake up. If you start the day with impulse, the world owns you. If you start the day with memory of your purpose, you own yourself. And no, you do not need to live like a Roman ascetic. You do not need a perfect ritual, expensive journal, or some cinematic sunrise every morning. You need 5 honest minutes of philosophical courage. Then 10, then maybe 20. Tomorrow morning, before you touch your phone, try this. Stand up immediately. Tell yourself your duty matters more than your mood. Expect at least one foolish person and decide in advance not to be one of them. Remember that your time is finite. Guard your first thoughts. And when something goes wrong, name the fact, then refuse the unnecessary story. Do that for 7 days, not to become more efficient, to become harder to destabilize. Because that is what ancient wisdom offers modern Stoicism at its best. Not life hacks, but inner architecture. A way of building a self that can withstand praise, insult, delay, boredom, temptation, and fear. Most people will spend their entire lives trying to control the world before they learn to govern a morning. Try this for 7 days. Come back and tell me what changed. And if this shifted something in your thinking, subscribe. We go deeper every week. The first victory is won before breakfast.